rev up your engines. Today I'm going to show you how you can save thousands of dollars fixing your car. Now, I've learned a lot of tricks over the years, so I'm going to share quite a few of them. Now, the first trick has to do with these expensive headlight assemblies. Often as they age, the seals go bad, or they get little rock chips, and then water gets inside, and it starts condensing inside. Now, as they age, the plastic gets brittle. It's often hard to figure out where water is coming from. And since these things can be really expensive, in the case of this Porsche, these little plastic headlight assemblies, hey, they cost almost $1,100 a piece. So if you can get rid of the water, keep it from building up, you can save yourself a lot of money there. And here's a trick. A drill. Now in this case I have the assembly off the car, but a lot of times you can get under the car. You can drill a hole in the bottom of the assembly without removing it. Sometimes you need a long drill bit. I got one this long that I use, super long for getting in holes. But once you drill a hole down here in the lowest point, now there's a hole, any water gets in, it's going to drain out that hole. Now this particular one has halogen headlamps. Halogens get relatively hot, which actually is a good thing if you get water inside, because the heat will vaporize any water vapor that's left and it'll just vent out the hole. You don't have to worry about getting the old stuff out if any more drips in. I have literally done this to hundreds of my customers' cars, especially when I have an older car, the plastic cracked. You're never going to be able to figure out where the leak is anyways, so all you got to do is drill a hole in the lowest point, and any water gets in, it's going to drip out there. It's not like you're driving a car underwater and it's got to be sealed perfectly. And of course, you can do this hole drilling technology any part of the car if water's building up inside something. Just realize you're always going to drill a hole on the bottom, on the lowest point, so the water will always come out then. And sure, if you go underwater, some water will get in, but hey, we're not driving submarines here. Now the next trick has to do with fixing oil leaks on your car. Now I know some people are going to scream, oh, snake oil, Scotty, you're selling snake oil. Well, you know, I thought the same thing. When I started using this stuff 4 decades ago, I thought, what can stuff in a bottle do? Well, it really shocked me. To begin with, as you can see, it's a clear polymer. It looks just like water. It doesn't have any suspended solids that can clog things up in whatever system you use it in. When I started testing this stuff up 4 decades ago, I thought, okay, I had a hydraulic jack for lifting up cars. It was leaking fluid all over the place. I poured a couple ounces of that stuff in with the hydraulic jack oil. And I have to say, it really shocked me, because the next day when I used that jack and jacked it up, instead of a puddle being under it from the hydraulic fluid leaking, there was nothing. And I ended up using that jack for years. Didn't leak anymore. And being a polymer, it can mix with all kinds of fluids. The best use I find is, let's say you have a rear main engine seal leak or a front main transmission leak. Guess what? You either have to pull out the engine to get to the seal, or pull out the transmission to get to either the back engine seal or the front transmission seal. And that, of course, is gigantic money. Big money to pull out an engine or an automatic transmission. I've used this stuff on hundreds of cars over the years. Now sometimes, yeah, it won't stop the leak, because if the seal is so shot that pieces have actually come off, hey, no sealer's going to fix that. But it often works, because many oil seals, they're round, and on the inside of that seal there's a spring that holds the lip onto the shaft. And if this sealer makes that lip more supple, the spring squeezes it in more and it stops leaking. Now in the olden days, guys used to cheat when they're selling the car, and they do stuff like throw sawdust in an engine to keep the seal from leaking, or even worse, put brake fluid in it, because brake fluid swells up rubber and it will stop it from leaking, but only for a short period of time. Then what happens is, after they swelled up, they shrink even further, and then they leak even more. In the past, I've had customers buy cars that somebody had done that, and then they changed the oil, and then all of a sudden it starts leaking oil like mad, and I say, oh, somebody must have put brake fluid in it to swell the seals to sell it to you, and now you're gonna have to pull the engine out and put new seals in it. The AT205 doesn't work that way. It's a polymer. it rejuvenates the seals. It doesn't make them get all big and swollen. Like I said, I've been using this stuff for 40 years, and it still amazes me that somebody could come up with such an idea that would work so well in most cases. I've used it to fix engine seal leaks, transmission seal leaks, rear end seal leaks. I've even used it in power steering systems, but there you have to realize something. Since it's a polymer, there's no solid suspended in it, it's not going to clog up your power steering system. But realize power steering system, and they have like 1,500 psi pressure inside that system on the high side, on the pressurized side. And often nothing is going to seal a leak in a system that's got 1,500 pounds per square inch pressure trying to squirt it out. Now another thing that can save you thousands on your car repairs is this JB Weld Quick. It's a 2-tube steel epoxy system. And man, you can see I've got the big ones. They make little bitty ones too, but I use it all the time, so I buy the big package. It's a simple system. You got the steel and you got the hardener. You just squeeze equal amounts on a piece of cardboard, mix it up, and then it's an epoxy that you can seal a lot of stuff with. You're probably not going to believe this next story, but it's real. The biggest job I ever fixed with one of these was a Volvo engine. It was leaking coolant out of the head. I could see a crack, so I did a 2-part process. I used Mr. Drill again, and each end of the crack I drilled tiny little hole. That's to keep the crack from spreading. Then I mixed up the epoxy, got a putty knife, and I put it in each hole, pushed it into the crack, and let it dry. Now in this case, you gotta use patience. You might think, oh, Scotty, he doesn't seem very patient. Well, I'm usually not. But when I use this stuff, I have to turn my brain down a little and realize you gotta have some patience. It's called JB Weld Quick because it's fast. It sets in 4 minutes. But it fully cures and hardens after 4 hours. And me, I've learned, I let it sit for 12 hours before I use the stuff again. In the case of the Volvo head that was leaking, I let it sit for 12 hours overnight. And the next day I started it up and ran it for half an hour, drove it around and checked. No coolant was coming out. And the customer drove that car for years longer, never leaked there again, which really amazed me. I didn't think, hey, is this stuff really going to work on something like that? But it did. So if you use it on things that aren't all that stressful, like this headlamp assembly on my old Celica, you can see there's all the goo there that's holding the headlight together. Now when I bought this car years ago from a customer, this fender was all smashed in because she'd been in an accident, and it had broken the headlight assembly. Well, hey, I only paid $350 for the car, so I'll be cursed I'm going to spend more than that on this Toyota headlight assembly. I just JB welded it together so it bolted on and didn't wobble anymore. And yeah, I did a really sloppy job, but who cares? Look, the hood's closed. Now, of course, you can do a much neater job than that. But I learned one thing with epoxies. The more, the merrier. So, if you have a whole bunch and it's really thick, it's going to have more tensile strength. So if it's something that you don't see when you're driving the car, who cares if it's kind of blotchy? It's bigger and it's going to hold together because there's more epoxy and a stronger bond in that area. So sometimes messy is better than neat. Just like my garage behind me. So really, this JB Weld, I've been using this stuff for years and years and years. Just heed my warning, even though it says quick and it sets in 4 minutes. Wait at least 4 hours before you start operating the vehicle, because you'll want the stuff to set and cure entirely, not just be dry to the touch on the top. So now you know 3 ways that you can save thousands of dollars fixing your car. And if it ever stops raining, I can go back to fixing some of my customers' cars. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.